Welcome to this outer space telecast featuring the Terranian satellites of Gagarin versus the galactic Andromeda. This is set out to be a very epic match. This will be divided into two videos. I'm going to start out. Oh yes, before that, this deck was first, my Gagarin deck was first featured on my Support Sports live stream video. Please do check it out before you watch this video, because in there I explain the premise of this deck. Alright, now if you have checked it out, let's get into the game. I start off by installing a pet campaign, and he starts off with a Desperado. Always good to see for him, because the Desperado negates my ID ability almost entirely. So now you find a very early public support, which is fantastic. I can install it naked. You generally don't need to protect the public support when you first install it, even though I could with the Enigma in my hand. The only case where you want to protect it is if you want the runner to bait. If you want to bait a run from the runner onto the remote and force them to lose clicks or something. Here he hits my hand very hard. I don't know why, and he legworks me. So be it, because he's gonna see the NAPD, but he cannot steal it because he's so poor. He spent a lot of resources setting up his Earthrise, and he's gonna pay for it, seeing the NAPD that he cannot steal. In the meantime, I do rest the Ice Wall on R&D to keep him out, so that he won't get any early agendas off R&D, and I find myself the pet campaign, and I rest the public support. Another reason I don't want to install the Enigma so early is because I want to click for credit so that I can actually rest the public support. It costs 2, which is a little expensive. In the meantime, he does get a multi-threader going, and that has me a bit worried. I do install a Naked Atlas at this point, and pass the turnover. I'm pretty sure he's very reluctant to check remotes, even though he has Desperado out. And this is quite obvious why he with this setup, obviously he doesn't bother checking remotes. You can just hammer my R&D all the time with Corroder, Medium, and Multi-Threader. So this is a huge problem. Every turn he can run R&D twice for free and gain 2 credits from Desperado, allowing him to make a 3rd R&D run, or 4th R&D run for that matter. So even though I have my public support scored now and I won a agenda point, I have to be concerned that he is going to completely own me from R&D, and that's exactly what he'll do here. I can't defend against that, because I drew for my first 2 clicks and I couldn't find any ice. And here comes the savior, the Cyberdex Virus Suite, the lone Cyberdex Virus Suite in my deck. Keeps the medium dig, or should I say it, damage control. It's damage control. It prevents him from a 6 deep medium dig. Instead, he resets the medium, and he sees the same few cards again, none of which are agendas. So I got very lucky there with the Cyberdex top deck. But that was about all that I could get. Now I need to be worried about finding an ice. So here I play a hedge fund and double advance the ice, because I can't guarantee that the next card I see will be ice. It could be, but seeing that he's on 4 credits, I think I can afford to let him see a couple more cards of R&D, steal maybe 4 points, and then go for the Virus Purge. Because I really cannot find any ice for the life of me, which is a very sad case. So I have to let the medium dig go through. At least I'm using up his entire multi-threader, so he can only dig for so much. If he decides to go on, proceed with more R&D digs, going for the 5th card, the 6th card, he's going to be in a lot of trouble, because I can just purge virus counters and render his board state very weak. So let's see what it does here. There's not much really, because each R&D run now costs him 1 credit net to run. It's not really that worth it, considering that his board state isn't that set up. So this was the rationale behind advancing the Ice Wall twice. Alright, so we find security testing, and that's a very great move, because the next turn I really do have to find something to defend R&D. Otherwise, he can security test, followed by 3 R&D runs. That is a rather stable way to continue the rest of the game. Here's my ice and archer. Perfect. Now that I have a public support squad, I can now play the archer. The question is, do I play it right now? And the answer is yes. I could have drawn a card and then played the archer to maybe confuse him, but I just went for the safe route. I'm installing the archer, and I'm spending my time advancing the changeling here. that is protecting HQ. This is pretty important because now the changeling, before the changeling was a barrier, he could easily siphon me or legwork me, and none of which are particularly good for me. So what I wanted to do here was to make sure that there would be no HQ runs. Another important reason to do that is to deter any emergency shutdowns. He could be running shutdown, you have to expect it out of criminal, and shutting down my archer is the last thing I want to have happen because that would make the medium dig so dangerous. Now he accesses 5 cards here, one of which is an Oaktown, so he's on the board with 2 points to my 0. Okay, here it was a very easy purge, no question about that. I trashed the changeling, which could be a mistake. The mandatory draw drew into a changeling, which I trashed. Reason for not keeping the changeling, I already have a sentry protecting both HQ and R&D. In the meantime, I'm going to score the Atlas while I still can, trashing a hedge fund that I just mandatorily drew into. So this is a very sneaky way to get on the board. You have to take such risks occasionally, and I think it definitely paid off in this case. It was very lucky in this scenario that he found Corroder Medium on the turn that I naked installed the Atlas. This meant that he was never going to challenge my remote, and that meant that I could wait as long as I want to score the Atlas. So he continues getting money from security testing, and that's not good. This basically deactivates my C double scorch plan. He is making a lot of money from my runs. Normally I have paywall implementation out, which cushions it a bit, but I haven't found any yet, which is a problem. Gagarin is really great at deterring security testing through paywall implementation. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing any this game. And now we see a solidifying of his game plan to simply outmoney me, knowing that I run Sea Scorched. He trashes both my pet campaigns. Very good move by him, which means that now I'm forced to use my alternative mode of gaining money, Capital Investors. This is why I have a single turn of it in this deck, and thankfully I found it. So now it's going to sit in my remote, very well protected by the Enigma. It could be inside jobbed. I can't do much about that, but well, I haven't found any better ice. Maybe I should have kept the changeling, but in any case, I'm just going to hit cap investors turn after turn until I outmoney him. I will be able to do that. Now he finally runs HQ, and I'm going to let him in to see just one card. It's the last click, so I don't have to worry about emergency shutdown. If he wants to steal the NAPD, I'm fine with that too. So here I get to hit Capital Investors twice, and I ice up Archives so that his security testing runs will be less effective. This is very good for me. Yes. This is the big advantage of Capital Investors as compared to Melange. Melange would gain me more money over the 3 clicks, 7 credits over 3 clicks, than 6 credits over 3 clicks for investors. But this allows me flexibility. I can gain 4 and still ice up Archives to deter security testing. Now here he responds appropriately, gets his decoder, treasures my Capital Investors. Ouch. Well, at least we are still on par in terms of credits. But the multi-threader is really shining right here. For measly 1 influence, he can actually security test my archives every turn for free. It costs him 2 credits to break the Enigma with Zoo, both of which come from multi-threader, and he gets 3 sec tests in return. 3 sec test credits in return rather. So yeah, my Enigma basically does nothing, which is a problem right now. So so he's going to run my Jackson on the last click. And I'm going to reshuffle in Pack Campaign, and Cyberdex Virus Suite. Cyberdex Virus Suite is an obvious choice here. Even though he has a medium on the board, I want the Cyberdex back in R&D because he's not going to access Archives. It's more likely that he's going to deep dig on R&D, and I want some innate protection in the form of that ambush. Now I find another piece of ice which goes on the remote. I need to start setting up a scoring server, or at least a secure money-making remote. I have interns in my hand, and I do plan to use the interns to recur Capital Investors, which will allow me to gain more credits. Now I'm on 7 to his 14, so that's pretty bad news, but with Capital Investors I should be able to catch up. Alright, so I mean it's pretty obvious by this point this game is going to drag on. I'm just going to hit Capital Investors like a magnum opus until I outmoney him. Then that leaves the question of whether he can outmoney me. And it seems like that will be the case, because every turn he's not just going to get 3 credits, he's going to get a Data Sucker token as well. This is not very good news. I need to start dedicating ice to Archives. Otherwise, he's just gonna get that every single turn. But I still don't find any ice. My deck is slightly ice-light. So I'm just going to get the capital investors back, and we'll see if I can bait a run on the remote. It still costs him 3 credits to trash the investors, so hopefully that will distract him for a bit. He knows that that's the investors. Let's see what it does here. Alright. Do note that he's full on memory right now, and the ice that is protecting my remote is a Taurus. So if he slams into the Taurus, I'm going to rest the Taurus, I'm going to trace 5, kick his Desperado out, force him to trash 1 program, which should hopefully give me an edge. But no, he's just going to continue his plan of getting 3 credits and a sucker token every turn, while he gets 2 drip credits from daily casts. So I'm just going to get 6 credits every turn. He's going to outmoney me slightly, because he gets extra clicks. He only needs 1 click to gain 5 credits every turn, leaving him 3 spare clicks to set up his rig or to just click for credits. As he does right here. He draws 2 cards, clicks for credit, and security tests. Not just security tests, he dirty laundries archives. So now he's gaining 8 credits every turn. This turn rather. Between daily cast, dirty laundry, security test, and desperado. That's a lot of money. He's on 25, I'm on 15. I still cannot threaten Sea Scorch. Partially also because I haven't found my singleton Sea Source yet. So here I'm going to install the Jackson and gain 2 plus 4 credits with capital investors. Again, the flexibility of a single click capital investors shines right here. It's much better than Melange. With Melange, I would be forced to hit Melange and trash 1 card from my hand, which is suboptimal. Here he installs Jack Sinclair, which is a very iffy move. He should have checked my remote before installing Jack Sinclair, but I think he was unaware at this point that he couldn't use programs during a Jack Sinclair run, as we'll see later. For those of you who are not really familiar with new cards, Jack Sinclair is Sunny's card. It states that every turn, at the start of your turn, you may initiate a run for free, but you cannot use programs during the run. I draw into an Ash, the perfect card. It goes straight into my remote, and I click on capital investors. So now I'm on 23 to his 28, which now becomes 30 thanks to daily casts. He attempts to Jack Sinclair my Enigma, and I remind him that he's not allowed to use programs here. So of course he chooses not to use Jack Sinclair instead, and that remains a dead card for the rest of the game. It is still slightly useful in the sense that it deters me from installing naked pack campaigns or public supports. As if security testing wasn't a big enough deterrence, now he has to be aware that now I have to be worried that he can Jack Sinclair on it every turn for 3 free credits, which I do not want to give him.
If you haven't realized by this point, we are now in a hard-on game of economic warfare, because it's pretty painfully obvious by now he's not running +3. I have a very one-dimensional game plan right now. Outmoney him before I attempt to score agendas,
which I'm thankfully not drawing into just yet, so a legwork cannot harm me right now.
There's a huge problem though. I haven't found a solution to his constant running of archives for security testing. This has allowed him to establish a very big credit lead on me, and so I decide that it's either now or never. I go for an agenda in the remote. Even if he steals it, it's fine. I have to let it happen. My only hope now is to draw him into running my remote to tax him out, because there's no other way around it. It's painfully obvious by now that I'm going to lose the economic war if I just keep sitting with capital investors in that remote.
So what have we learned so far from watching this half of the game? Capital investors has really dragged this game out. It really is like a space race between America and Russia. And really this is so apt and fitting for this, where Gagarin and the Galactic Andromeda just race each other to space to see who can get more credits. I can't start scoring agendas until I have the credit lead, and he can't start running until he has me dominated in credits, because it costs him money to run through servers, and I can threaten Sea Scorch at any time. As a result of this, there was a long standstill. You can think of it as a showdown where we see whose economy is stronger, and this contributed to a very long game where no one was really doing anything but gaining money. And this could be bad for a tournament setting if you choose to go down this route and bring such a deck to a tournament. Multi-threader was such a huge problem for me to deal with, and it's so powerful in the New Age Andromeda. It really is comparable to Cloak in Stealth Andy, In the past, if you weren't around, what happened was that Stealth Andy would run Switchblade and silencers and cloaks. Back when RP was popular, they usually threw a single pup to defend archives, to defend against security testing. What Switchblade plus silencer is able to do is to slice through that single pup for free with just one recurring credit to activate security testing and deactivate RP's ability. That's amazing. Um, Being able to make free runs like that, it's as if you have bad pub. So similarly, multi-threader allowed my opponent to slice through Enigma on archives as though it's Swiss cheese. It's like a bad pub for that run only, which is amazing because all he needs to do is to get security testing for that run and just continue building up his board state, which contributed to the lengthy game. Ice-like decks like my Gagarin will struggle very hard because my ice is mostly on quality, like Archer and Tollbooth, instead of quantity. Um, Decks which pack more ice, such as Glacier, HB, and Blue Sun, will have a better time against Andy once they get set up. So that was definitely something that I struggled with this game and will continue to struggle as we move on to the second half. My opponent has the Sentry weakness covered, despite me having what seems to be a very secure remote with Taurus and Archer on it. My opponent can threaten a Fem or Fairy at any time. He does have more Fairies available, and he hasn't played his Fem yet, and there's always the possibility of playing a Mimic on the board. With his 3 Data Sucker tokens that he currently has, he can easily eat through the Archer and the Taurus. My hope is that the Ash at the end of the server will really prohibit him from making 2 separate runs on the remote to fetch my Oaktown. Hence, I also needed to purge virus counters. If you notice, the Data Sucker was up to 6 before I purged the turn before I tried to score the Oaktown. That was very important to make sure that he doesn't choose to let Ash fire and run the remote twice. So, tune in for the second half of the game where we see whether I can actually manage to score that Oaktown or whether he'll get the best of me with his tricks up his sleeve in running through that remote. See you then.